Today I'm going to be talking about INFJ and ENFP. And I want to say I'm almost not entirely sure this is a good time for me to be doing my video about ENFP because I'm currently at a place in my life where my entire perspective of ENFP, or I should say my perspective of how well I could or could not get along with an ENFP, is really being flipped upside down on its head. What I mean by that is I've had a lot of ENFP experience, and up until the past 2 years or so, it's all been really bad. But within the past 2 years, I've met some ENFPs, and my relationships with them have been some of the best relationships I've ever had in my entire life. So now I'm starting to rethink. I'm comparing the bad experiences with the good experiences, and I'm saying to myself things like, how much of this was due to poor character, or how much is it due to the fact that as I've grown, I have changed, and maybe that's made it easier for me to interact with them. The differences that I've noticed are the experiences with ENFPs that I've had that have been very negative have all been with females, except for a couple. I think there's just two that I've had good experiences with. All of the experiences that I've had with female ENFPs, all my bad experiences, they were all heart types, 2s, 3s, and 4s. The ENFPs that I have met within the past 2 years, that again have been some of the best relationships in my entire 31 years of living, they have been males. And I take that back. One has been a 7. It's this guy that I'm dating right now. The other one was a 2, but it was a male. All of the other heart types were females. I have two, I don't know if I'd call them friends yet, but I've recently met these two girls, and they're both 8 ENFPs, and that's a whole other flavor of ENFP altogether. It's just way different. But then I'll say this too, the 7 ENFP, way different. And again, I mentioned this in my ENFJ video. These examples just go to show that an ENFP 1 is not going to be the same thing as an ENFP 3 or an ENFP 5. You can have all of these ENFPs, and they can have all these different Enneagram numbers, and you're looking at such drastic differences that it would be hard to believe that all of them could be ENFPs. But with that being said, ENFPs are very high energy people, and I'm a very low energy person. I would also say too, our outlooks on life are very, very different. And this has been a point of conflict with ENFPs that I have, which is to say, so what I always say is INFJs, we lead with introverted intuition. ENFPs lead with extroverted intuition. And so what I say is introverted intuition is all about darkness and demons, and extroverted intuition is all about sunshine and unicorns. So there's a very drastic difference in approach to life right there. And again, it's caused some problems. Even with the guy that I'm dating right now, there's some conflict there between, he thinks that I am way too negative. I don't think he's very realistic about his expectations about things sometimes. He's too optimistic. And so we clash there. But I will say this. He's a really, really terrific guy. And I feel very lucky to have found him because he is humble enough to consider my perspective, and I'm humble enough to consider his. And that's key right there. I don't even give a fuck what your types are. If you can come into a relationship and just be humble enough to say that my way of doing things and my way of seeing isn't the only way to do it, and that I may benefit from maybe listening to somebody else and adapting some of who they are to me, and vice versa, your relationship can be fucking fantastic. I mean, it just can. And he and I have that. And one of the things that I value to the point that I can't put words to it has been how willing both of us have been able to do that. And so it's awesome because we're really at this point now where I feel like he gets why I have more of a cynical perspective on things, and I get why he has this very optimistic and hopeful perspective on things, and more than just getting it, I have seen him really try to adopt some of the perspectives that I have into his life, and more so than that, into his way of thinking, his just schematic of understanding the world, and vice versa. I have chosen to take some of his perspectives and not necessarily apply them to what I do, even though that's part of it. But the important part is that I'm weaving them into my way of thinking, my schematic of the way that the world works. And so in the time that we've been together, we have both changed in considerable ways. It is because of him that I would put ENFP on my list of like partners that I think I could spend the rest of my life with, but I'll get into that here in a minute. Yeah, there's differences there between the very cynical INFJ perspective, because we lead with introverted intuition and we can see the patterns of the way that things have always been, and we use that to predict the patterns of the way things are going to be. INFJs and ENFPs look at things and we see them how they are, but we don't stop there. We also see what they could be. The difference is this. ENFPs, because they have extroverted intuition supported by introverted feeling, see how wonderful things could be, how much better they could become. They see positive potential. INFJs, we see what is and we see what it could be. It could be something really shitty and it could be something really great, but we're going to be real about it. And INFJs, it's really rare that you'll hear us say, like, exclusively, like, oh, this is going to be this giant terrible thing, or oh, this could be this really great positive thing, because we're so aware of the complexities of everything. We can look at something and say, all right, yeah, I can see this. This could possibly become this, but there's going to be this with it, and vice versa, and blah, blah, blah. ENFPs, God bless them, they just look at anything, again, things, processes, people, and they look at it and they can say, man, this is a really shitty thing, but I'll bet we could make it better. And again, they could see a broken piece of furniture and they'll sit there and they'll stare at it and they'll have an idea. Oh, I know what I could do. And they can go and pick other things from around the house or whatever, and they can figure out how to fix the furniture or alter the furniture in such a way that it's still usable. And they'll come up with these ideas that the rest of us aren't thinking about, because what they're doing is they're using that extroverted intuitive function. They are looking at the broken piece of furniture, in this case, they're seeing what it is, and then in their head they're running through all of the things that could be. Well, what could be here to fix this? What could I turn this into? How could this be functional? They're not just seeing, oh, there's this piece of furniture and it's broken in this way. I better go get this exact part to fix it this way, or it can't be fixed and I've got to toss it out. They're seeing what could be, okay? That's extroverted intuition. They're looking for something positive in what they currently have. They do it at work or just with processes in general, the way that something has been done. Oh, well, it's not working. Well, that's okay. Let's imagine all of the different things that we could do to fix this process, because we could make it better. We could make it more efficient. I'm not going to give up on this process yet because I believe I can make it better. They do this with people. ENFPs, again, God bless them, they can be suckers sometimes. They get taken advantage of. They really do, because ENFPs, they look at very broken people, sometimes very evil people, or people that are just dishonest or manipulative or have bad intentions, sometimes just immature people. And ENFPs look at them and they can find something good in that person. And they can say, I don't really believe they're this bad. I believe they mean really well. They just don't know any better. So I'm going to invest all of my time into this person. I'm going to give them tons of encouragement. I'm going to help them in any way I can. And they're going to become a better person because of me, and blah, blah, blah. And they get taken advantage of like just a fuck ton because of this. A fuck ton. Anyways, it's painful to watch sometimes. That's another downside, actually, I would say, to the INFJ and ENFP relationship, because even like the female ENFPs that I used to know, all of them 2s, 3s, and 4s, they would just go off dating. Oh my God, they would meet these men, and I'm looking at these men and I'm like, no, this guy is not a good guy. This will not work out. And they, no, he's wonderful. I know that it's just because his mother never loved him the right way, but I'm going to love him the right way and everything's going to be better. And they go and they get themselves into these relationships and it's like a train wreck waiting to happen. And my introverted intuition is already seeing it and it's supported with the extroverted thinking. So I'm trying to help them out. And they're not wanting to hear it because they're extroverted intuition that sees how wonderful everything could be, supported with their introverted feeling, which is just giving them all the wonderful feel goods that they don't want to get rid of, and they're off in this like lovely little pink la la land, and we're clashing, and they're saying to me, why can't you be supportive of my relationship? And I'm thinking, why can't you open your eyes and see that this dude's a fucking asshole? I do want to say for the record, I'm not the sort of person that likes to say I told you so. Actually, I'm lying. I am. So I'm going to say in all of the instances where I told them this is not going to work out, this dude's an asshole, all of those instances, it didn't work out because the dude turned out to be a fucking asshole. So I'm just saying that I told them so, and this is my ego stroke to myself during this video. The extroverted intuitive function can be overwhelming for me sometimes because, again, it's a very high energy function. So they've got lots of energy and it's very positive and it's very, uppy and happy. And as an INFJ, my energy is so low key. I am like way chill. And so it's very easy to overwhelm me very, very quickly. And so I find that I have a hard time keeping up with ENFPs in that respect. So it's like I can take ENFP energy in doses. I can take a little bit here and then I need time to just calm down. Calm down. And see, that's kind of what sucks about being an INFJ is we've got that extroverted feeling in there. An extroverted feeling, in a lot of myers-briggs circles, it's talked about as you feel, you're very empathetic, you feel what other people are feeling. And that's true, but it goes a step further than that. Extroverted feeling just kind of takes in the energy that people have. And so when I spend time with ENFPs and they've got this really high, strong energy, I'm soaking up their energy. It's not even necessarily their emotions. I'm just soaking up their energy. And ENFP energy is so strong, it's overwhelming for me. And so sometimes just being in the same room with an ENFP makes me feel drained. I'm just exhausted. And that's not to say anything bad about ENFPs. It's just, again, it's a factor that comes into play when you have an INFJ and an ENFP. That's just what happens. So ENFPs, for me, have been overall, I think, an acquired taste for those reasons, plus more. And then we have the comparison of the extroverted feeling function and the introverted feeling function. ENFPs have secondary introverted feeling. INFJs have secondary extroverted feeling. Again, there's nothing wrong with the introverted feeling function. It's just one of the functions I have a really hard time working with because it's such a sensitive function. ENFPs, and again, this is just my experience, they get offended or hurt, I should say, maybe that's a better word, and they don't realize that they're offended or they're hurt. And so they'll start saying things or doing things out of the hurt or the offense that they don't know they have. But I can see it because I'm an INFJ, and again, introverted intuition followed by extroverted feeling. We read people, we know shit about you that you don't know about you. It's just a fact. So I can see it, and so I will call them out, and I'll be like, I can tell that this offended you. Oh, and you know what kills me is it's not even... ENFPs can just be big babies sometimes for that reason. And I don't think they know that they're acting like big babies, but they are. And so I'll call them out on it sometimes, and I'll be like, you're acting like a 5-year-old little kid right now just because somebody disagreed with you or gave you a perspective about yourself that you didn't agree with. You need to calm down. It doesn't mean that that's true about who you are. And then they get mad or they get offended because I'm telling them that they're offended. It's frustrating sometimes. So it's that introverted feeling function. It's kind of sensitive. It's what makes ENFPs so snuggly and lovable, and it's part of what makes them it's part of what gives them the best of the traits that they have. But that's a downside to it that's really frustrating to me. The introverted feeling function is also too sometimes what can make it very, very difficult for them to allow that more cynical, or as I like to call it again, the realist perspective of the INFJ to kind of come in and shape their world a little bit, because the introverted feeling function is very emotionally attached to the way that it sees the world. And so it can be difficult sometimes for ENFPs and ESFPs, ISFPs, INFPs, for them to really sit down and just put how they feel about something completely to the side and open themselves up to just hear something different and chew on it for a little while and imagine, what if this were true? What would life look like if this were true? What would that mean for me, about me, if this were true? It's really hard for them to do that, and that introverted feeling function is kind of what lends that hardness there. But again, they're softies, they're giant teddy bears. The introverted feeling function is what kind of gives them their hopeless romantic flair that they have, and I like it. It's wonderful. You know, I'm a closet romantic, and ENFPs are flamboyant, public, naked romantics. They just are. In fact, given the experiences that I've had with ENFPs just in the most recent years, the 2 friends that I've kind of made, or well, I guess the 4 that I've made, 4 or 5 this year, the 3 males and the 2 females, has led me to believe that I think it's possible for an ENFP to kill you by loving you. Like, I literally think it's possible for them to love you to the point that you're dead. I haven't decided if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's got to be a good thing, right? This is another big topic that usually comes up when we start talking about ENFPs and their chemistry with anybody, which is monogamy versus polyamory. You read any ENFP profile anywhere, or at least most of the ones that I've read, and ENFPs, even if it's not directly stated, they're painted as being the sort of person that's probably going to fit more into a polyamorous lifestyle versus a monogamous lifestyle. I fully 100% agree. I think it's more suited to them. But with that being said, out of all the ENFPs I've ever known, again, I've known many, 5 of them were in monogamous relationships and had been in monogamous relationships for a very long time, were very happy, never had any need to go and look outside of that for any extra stimulation. INFJs, not to say that they can't do the polyamory or the swinging thing. Absolutely, like, INFJs are some pretty open-minded motherfuckers. My experience, I don't know, speaking for myself as an INFJ, and the other INFJs that I've known, I've never known an INFJ that just shuts something down immediately. INFJs will try pretty much anything once. We're pretty open-minded people. But at the same time, just in terms of getting into a whole monogamy versus polyamory lifestyle, INFJs, I have found, tend to stick more on the monogamy side versus ENFPs that tend to prefer like polyamory, swinging, that sort of a thing. Nothing wrong with that. So there can sometimes be a disconnect there. Not necessarily, it just depends on the couple, but I've noticed that too. So that's just an interesting point. Anyways, it doesn't matter. That's an aside. That is a decent summation, I think, of INFJ and ENFP chemistry.